John, you have a new mic.
I have a brand new mic.
Look at
Check
that.
it. Look at that thing.
Everyone, we
It's so
are
pretty.
graduating to professional level. We have lighting.
Professional microphones.
We have
Kind of lighting.
real.
I have wait, hold on. Ready? New
Yeah,
light.
look at that.
Ooh.
Look at that. We
Okay,
have
I'm gonna leave it off.
these
You don't need to
professional
see that.
pads here. Well, everyone, hey, welcome to Steph Nation. This is our video cast. And thanks so much for everyone's feedback and being very gentle on my physical looks and and complimenting us obviously on the content, but hopefully these faces weren't too distracting. And
Yeah.
tonight's topic, John and I have been talking about this for over a week, and we're really excited because for the past episodes, we've been doling out a lot of facts and figures and trying to provide some analysis. And tonight, we're just going to speak off the cuff about things that we really care about, but really our opinions. And the topic is about now versus then, in reference to the entire movie going experience. And we broke it up into three segments: food, the setting, and the overall quality, which includes like resolution and sound quality and whatnot and technology. And John, if I had just to ask you a question, if you prefer it now versus then, and I'm talking about in the 70s and 80s, when we were little and we used to go to movies, if you had just had to answer with all the stuff, and we'll go through the details, what would it be?
I have to say I prefer it now. I mean, just the experience going to a theater now, the quality, the technology that's come around. Like you said, we'll talk about those things. I would have to say the experience going to a movie now, overall is a little bit more pleasing. Just it's a totally different experience now than when it was like in 1985. But I think so I would answer your question and say now versus then.
That's good.
But yeah, it is. But I mean, a lot has changed in movies, right? In the way we see movies versus, then versus now. So much has changed in technology and everything else. It's amazing to think about it.
Well, a lot of people at our age and our generation, a lot of people will go right back to nostalgia and automatically just say, oh, it was better then. And, today's kids, and we sound like grumpy old curmudgeons.
I know, and try not to.
I think there's, some parts that I like, and there's obviously a natural excitement when it's your first time going out to the movie theater and your first time seeing a horror movie, your first date, movie date, all that. So it's hard to kind of reenact that in excitement, but I agree with you. I think the movie experience now, over those 3 points that we talked about, are just better. And just like having a phone, an iPhone now, it's so much better than the old school. You can do so much more with it. I think it's a progression that has empowered so much to make the experience better. But let's go into it. So I thought we'd start off with an easy one. Let's talk about food. Okay, let's go back, John. 1985. What's happening in the food scene?
I mean, you went to the movie theater and you weren't going for the culinary experience, right? I mean, there was like, you had your sugary sodas to drink, pretty much that was it. And then you had your choice of like popcorn and like a variety of maybe like 6 different types of candy, like M&Ms, Junior Mints, Milk Duds, Juju Fruits. There was like, it's Snow Caps. There's probably 7 or 8 kinds of candy. And that was it. Like, that was all you had. Like, there wasn't a variety. Now, mind you, movie theater popcorn, in my opinion, hasn't changed a whole lot over the course of these years. So it's still amazing and beautiful and completely terrible for you, but so satisfying. So I would say that, I mean, back then there was no other options, right? I mean, you had like a very small counter of snacks. And if you were, so lucky and so adventurous, you may try one of the roller dogs that they would serve. I mean, those that mystery meat spinning like for weeks on the wheel.
Russian roulette, man.
And of course, I should not forget the nachos, right? With the like, kind of almost like this neon yellow gold cheese that would just be soaked into these wet, soggy nachos with all, we just freaked out over them. They're not great, but so many great memories.
Yeah, I think it again with food. You think about from the malls or even airplanes. Food has just progressed, and I agree with you. It was a novelty, getting those like the popcorn and getting those candies. And I agree with you. The popcorn, I think, in a good way, hasn't changed because you just can't replicate it at home, despite buying the movie style popcorn that they advertise in those bags. And you're like, no, man, this isn't it. But I agree with you.
Not the same.
Going to the theater now, first of all, there's specialty theaters that serve you. You can get anything. Obviously, you can get the standbys, the junior mints and the juju fruits and all that stuff. But I'm always amazed at just how it's kind of progressed with the times. I mean, I haven't seen sushi there. Okay, eating sushi in the theater, because I imagine the cleanup's got to be insane. Yeah. But I think I was telling you, and even internationally, when I lived in Mexico, I went to some of the kind of fancy movie theaters, and that's how they advertise them, kind of like in the fancy malls. And they would serve you. I mean, it was Mexico, but like beautiful Mexican meals, and great beer, and like what could be better? And you think about it, you're like, I could do this at home. And that's why many people prefer to watch movies at home, because you can have legit food.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember I was like 15, I think, or 14. And I went to visit my family in Holland, in Amsterdam, and went to a movie, and they were serving beer there. I was like blowing my mind that they were serving beer at the theater, in Holland, which really shouldn't have surprised me one bit.
Now the question is, did you get to have some when you were little?
Yeah, dude. I was like, absolutely. I'm like, in Holland, a drinking age was like 12. It's like 2 years older than France. Like in France is like 10. Yeah. In Holland it's like 12. So of course I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna get by a beer.
Hip. They're always so hip up there.
But it was, but buying, out, now, like you said, Scott, when I was living in Chicago, we had a theater, the Roosevelt Collection, up Roosevelt Road, not too far from where we lived. And they had a full-on restaurant. And then they had a theater that was for 21 and over. It had like the couches and regular chairs, and had a full menu. And you could order, and they would bring the food to your seats. Yeah. You could order like a variety of different kinds of like serious food. And there was like cocktails and wine and beer they served in glasses. It was like a restaurant experience. And then you could still order like popcorn and nachos and stuff like that. So it was a very different experience, and you paid a premium, right? Because popcorn back in 85 was like, a popcorn was like $3. Yeah. Now it's like $23 for a popcorn. You're like, what the...
there's like layaway plans and financial advisors to help you purchase popcorn.
Exactly. Beer and movie does go really well. We had the Brew and View in Chicago at the Vic Theater, and many, many nights going to see Dazed and Confused and drinking like, a case of beer at the Vic, watching a movie. But culinary wise, food wise, it's a different world when it comes to theaters.
I think the one thing, though, that I've not seen change, and tell me if I'm wrong, but that nacho cheese, someone has got a monopoly on that cheese. Yeah. This is this cheese.
They plunge it like
it lasts. You can fix your tiles on your bathroom with it.
You can caulk with it.
You can. Oh my God!
It makes a good hair gel.
Oh, fixes all plastic, fixes dents in your car. I never understood that cheese, and I'm like, what? It doesn't have those ingredients, and I've never seen it in grocery stores. Hey, movie style nacho cheese, because I'm afraid they have to list the ingredients, and I can imagine
after the age of 23, I could no longer my insides could no longer digest whatever gelatinous liquid or whatever was in there. I just couldn't do it anymore. But the nachos are still there. I think the roller meat's gotten a little better now over the years. But it's a totally different experience, and which is good. I think it's progression, it's innovation that needed to happen in the theater.
I think so. People are like, as they're trying to lure people to go into and to go see a theater instead of going home or just streaming whatever, people are like, hey, why do I need to eat this crap? Or why can't I have at least other options? Keep the nachos there for a novelty's sake. Well, going into
Yeah,
The
go ahead.
second point, which is a huge one, and we talked a little bit about the iPhone and
Mm.
technology, but just the overall quality of the sound and picture.
Yeah.
I mean, going way back before you even had stereo, right? It was in mono. And now you have where you can actually feel the sound,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's just awesome.
Yeah.
I
They
can't
have
see
this.
anyone who wants to go back. I mean, it's kind of interesting to hear like old mono
Yeah.
sound, but
Right now they have this the theaters now where there's two. I know there's that one where you go to the theater and it's like I don't know if it's Dolby or who the
yeah,
company is who's doing it, and like it and they have this. It's before the movie starts. They
yeah,
have like a little thing about their sound, and like they have the surround, like they have like a drop
right,
of water that goes all the way around. It's insane.
yeah,
It's amazing. And then they have theaters that you were saying. They have these here in Las Vegas at Red Rock Resort. They have a theater that has that sound like they have like they have vibrations in the
yeah,
chair, and which is kind of going back even like a throwback to like 50s horror movies where they would like have vibrators on the chairs, like when the
yeah,
monster would come down it would shake. It does create a more of a visceral experience,
yeah.
right, when you're
Oh, for
sitting in that
sure.
movie and like you feel it, you're like, oh, Jesus.
And as the
Yeah.
CGI has progressed, and I'm not
Oh yeah.
saying I'm a fan of, all the special effects and whatnot, but when you
Right.
do have them, they're accentuated and paired with the sound that you feel. And so I think the first time I really heard that was Black Hawk Down, and you can the
Mm,
gun. I've never been
yeah.
in a war and whatnot, but the
Right, but it
bullets
felt like you
flying
were in
around,
one.
yeah, it felt like this was must be like to
Yeah.
hear a bullet going near your ear. Uh,
Absolutely. And
it,
and just the quality of the
oh
picture
yeah,
too. Like the quality of the pictures have gotten, there's no more like focusing, like movies with like the guy in the
pixelated.
theater would like focus it. Now it's like it pops up. It's like, I don't know
Yeah,
what it is now, 5K or 6K. I mean, it's like it's
it's
as
lifelike.
clean, it's lifelike,
Yeah.
and that's a big change from the days of, the old reel to reel.
Well,
It's all digital now.
I think it was fascinating when high definition first came out, because they said even the actors knew that, oh my God, they could see my pop marks, they could see a
Right.
zit. It
Exactly.
was
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
realistic view where the standard definition just couldn't capture that. I think it allows you to experience what the director wanted you to experience, if you can
Yeah.
imagine the sights and the sounds and the
Yeah.
actual, just the sheer grandeur of just the entire screen. That scene, they probably will like, gosh, if I had the technology, you could hear the bullets flying, or
Can you
you could
imagine?
feel that.
I think is there a movie if you had, I'm going to put you on the
Yeah,
spot here for a second.
yeah,
If you had to go back, to like the high school days, into
yeah.
the 80s and think about one movie that you wish they could play now with better sound quality, better picture, what might it be?
Oh, I think two movies, and these are only
Go
two
ahead.
movies I really talk about. It's not Shawshank,
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
This
I know what you're
is
going to say.
it's Jaws, and
Yeah.
it's The Shining, and I
Mm,
find it's John Williams, obviously, on Jaws. The It's actual just music I love. I think it's just fascinating music, and I associate obviously with this amazing movie. Um, I think those movies. If I wish I could have had that experience when I first saw it, where I could shake when you hear the dun dun dun, and The
yeah.
Shining is just so eerie.
Yeah.
And but when you hear it on a bad stereo, or in those in 1980, the technology wasn't as developed obviously as it is now. It's I would want to be even more scared. Let's just say
Right.
that.
Right.
And to hear the screams and just to feel that, like that ultimate, not fear, but just getting scared out of your brains. That would have been
Right.
fun. What about you? Which movie or
I,
which quality would you wish was better
I
back
thought
then?
I thought you were gonna say Footloose and Better
Dude,
Off Dead. Uh, no,
Footloose
I
would have been
have
good.
Footloose would have been good. Yeah, Kevin Bacon, like in high def.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
think I agree with you on Jaws. Jaws would be one that would just be with a sound, right? Would
Yeah.
be amazing. I think of the Blues Brothers because it was a movie that I really, it's a true favorite, but also the music was so integral. It was almost like it wasn't a musical, but
Yeah.
there was so much music in it. I would love to see that movie with the sound with the sound going through the new system, and it's and some kind of audio engineer going in and adjusting the sound, the picture quality would be fine. But to hear that movie in the kind of sound that we have now would be breathtaking. Like all the music that was played, Cab Calloway, and all the music, and then just like the car chases and the scenes would be. I would love to see the Blues Brothers redone in today's world and technology.
It's fascinating too when you see, you know, especially when the DVDs came out and they had director's cut or they had behind the scenes, and some of the sound effects that they would make. You couldn't really realize the whole, let's just say, just experience when it was on mono. A classic horror movie, The Exorcist, with William Friedkin, when Linda Blair's head is turning around, that actually was this sound specialist, and it was a leather wallet that he just turned. Right, that was the sound. But if you hear it, I think I don't know if they were able to kind of remaster it, if you will, the original tapes. But you're like, holy shit, I hear the leather cracking. You know, and it's her head spinning. But I thought that was a good example of being able just to, as you said, with like raindrops or bullets. I think the bullets to me was the most powerful, and I thought, because it's just not it's a sound you have to extrapolate in your head, like, unless you're in a gang or you live in Chicago now. You hear bullets all the time.
It's like every day gunplay.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude, I know what that's like. I know that's like. I'm just gonna go to Walgreens and hear bullets. But going to the last one, John, in terms of, we've talked about quality, we talked about food, and this is the setting. And we had on TV, we had HBO growing up in the 80s. Now, you just mentioned you were on a flight today coming from Pittsburgh, and you're able to see movies streaming.
Oh yeah, I mean,
unheard of back then.
It is like, I was talking to a colleague about flying back when I was a kid, and we would go on flights like home to Holland, and they would show movies, like 2 movies, and they would put them up on. They had a screen that would come down, or they'd open this cabinet with a screen, and you put these headphones on, and you'd plug them into the seat. You know, they were plastic. And when my sister was like falling asleep, I would pull hers out and I would blow in them so they blow out her ear. It's the best. Anyways, to your point though, now technology is such that, I've been on planes every week the last 3 weeks, and I watch movies, all the time on my iPhone, but also, on movies, on Delta, that you pull up a screen and it comes right in front of you. Like, it's a large, like 12-inch screen. And you can choose from different movies. There's like, 30 movies. And I tend to always watch those movies that I would never, ever, ever pay for. Like the famous one is The Meg, which is about the giant prehistoric shark, which is, I mean, I would never pay for that, but on a plane, you can kind of like, check it out. And it's changed that experience where, and we've talked about it before, where
that could be a whole nother episode. Movies you don't pay for. Movies you watch if you don't have to pay for.
Movies you watch on a plane, a plane only.
Plane movies. G.I. Jane.
Oh my God, I've got so many. List of the best plane movies. I have it.
Yeah, that's a good one. We'll table that one.
Right, but remember, like we talked about this. Back in the day, the only way to see a movie was to see it in the theater, and then VCRs came along. Yeah, and then. You still didn't see first run movies. The movies that you could rent at the video store were already long out of the theaters. So you could only really watch them. VCRs came out, that made it more accessible to watch movies at home. Mm-hmm. And then you had, like you said, on TV and HBO, they started coming out, and the technology progressed. And now you can stream movies anytime, anywhere. Everyone, you go to the airport, like everybody's staring at their screen watching a movie. It's amazing,
Exactly. It's from a convenient point of view. We just need to say Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. There's almost too much. You look there and you're like, what am I going to watch? I can watch every single Police Academy if I want at the tip of my finger. And it's
convenience.
It's convenient. I think in some cases it could be hyper choice, where it's almost so much you end up just like kind of like internet surfing almost. I'm gonna call it
Yeah.
movie selection surfing, where
Yeah.
you waste like 30 minutes because you're like, well, maybe there's another movie I could see. Let's keep
Right.
going. And you just
Yeah. You just scroll and scroll,
just
but
scroll.
I think it's great. I mean, this is my humble opinion. I
Yeah.
think technology is great for movies because it makes them accessible. If you're
Yeah.
in, no matter where you are, right? Which as a
Oh,
traveler, you're a traveler. It's super helpful. But if you would ask me, what do you prefer?
yeah.
Do you prefer watching a movie at home or do you prefer watching it in the theater? If I could
Yeah.
make my choice, I love the theater. There's nothing like it to see a
Mhm.
movie in the theater. It's my favorite thing in the world. But nowadays, there's the convenience about watching it at home. You could, like you said, you could,
Oh,
Carl and I are going to watch a movie tonight and, have a drink, and it's nice and easy. But, there's nothing that we love more than, going to a movie together and like buying popcorn and sitting in the dark theater. And yeah, it's awesome.
well, like anything, like a concert or a play, there's
Yeah.
I call it tribal, but there's a communal energy that can really add to the experience, especially I would say in horror movies back then. And I'm not going to get too much on a memory lane, but let me go into why I think certain settings have really innovated, and I find it, I won't say better or worse, but it's so unique. And I was telling you earlier about seeing Jaws at the Chicago Symphony, where they play the movie, but the actual music from John Williams is played by the full orchestra.
Right.
And so they have that technology, obviously, to isolate the track. So you still hear, obviously, the dialogue. But it was, first of all, it was packed. And it wasn't just old, rich white people at the symphony. These were randos like me. Everyone looked like we just got off the street. I'm wearing flip-flops. Some people aren't even wearing shoes. The symphony was not ready for the riffraff, but
the Jaws fans.
It was packed, and it was a 3-day affair. Every night was sold out.
Oh, I
and
bet.
It was such a big win for the symphony, and they're always trying to raise money. And classical music, it typically would appeal to an older segment. And then they were doing Star Wars next and subsequent.
I know they did a bunch more of them because they were so successful.
So successful. And there was a reason it was successful, because it was like, you can't get any more live than the orchestra playing the cello. You know what I mean? It was just, it was really an amazing, and I would encourage anyone, if you're probably happens in larger cities and whatnot, but if you can get to a city that does this, I highly recommend. Even if you've seen the movie 1,000 times, it's actually better if you've seen the movie, so you could just focus on the sound. But I thought that was a really unique sound.
I'm so bummed I missed that too, because the only orchestra I've ever seen, Carl and I are big silent movie fans, and every year the Chicago Silent Film Festival, they have the Mount Alto Orchestra would come in with like 20 members, and they would play the music to a silent movie, which is always really interesting, right? But to go and like see Jaws or Star Wars, like a full-on, symphony, it's got to be incredible. A totally different experience than anything you could ever imagine.
Yeah, and symphonies are impressive, even anyone who's not really into music, but just to see all these people coordinated under one conductor to produce this music without
it's amazing.
A DJ and without someone just staring at a laptop, but synced in with the movie, and especially with songs that everyone knows. I mean, playing the cello with a dun 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 dun. It's cool for anyone.
I would have loved to see Footloose by the orchestra. That would be wicked.
Yeah. And they should have like a live impersonator of Kevin Bacon doing the dance in the tunnel.
Also Break Into Electric Boogaloo would be great.
So many.
Or even Rad. Just bring the guy out in a bike.
That's going to be the next phase. That's going to be combining the play with the actual symphony.
Kind of like what was it? With Rocky Horror Picture Show, right?
Yeah,
they kind of act out some of the scenes, right?
It's immersive,
interactive theater, right? You get immersive. You start, I think Rocky Horror was probably the pioneer.
Maybe that's the next phase. But going to your question or your kind of statement, the one thing that and everyone says this, and maybe this is very typical of our generation to say, well, it was better back then. I will say that the hype, because you didn't have all this other entertainment per se, and you didn't have the just breadth of movies getting distributed with an instant. You didn't have YouTube, you didn't have TikTok, all these basically entertainment channels. So when a movie like Star Wars came, like the whole nation rallied around it, and there was a whole ritual to getting the tickets, to standing in line. But I think the one thing that was missing from today's experience is that communal energy, because no one had seen it. It was hard to like get leaking it out, and piracy and all that stuff. But I think with concerts, people today have that similar type energy, Coachella and all that. You can feel these festivals of, some of them have taken the place of that, especially for a lot of the younger generation.
I think you're right, Scott, that anticipation. But also, the other thing that I remember about the days when movies were like the only thing there was, there was no other way to see a movie, was going to the theater. Was even like the days like on a Saturday night, we had nothing to do, we would go to the theater, and there was always one multiplex nearby. They had like 7, 8 screens, and we would just go and like just pick a movie. Like, oh, we should go see a movie. And you just go and like, oh, let's go see that. We've seen it 4 times. Let's go see it again. Movies were like $8. It was like $10 maybe at the most. And we would just go and like, it's something that you just did. Like, instead of like just sitting around or, getting in trouble, we figured, let's just go get a movie, and maybe we'll meet some girls. Maybe they'll laugh at us and we'll walk away depressed, but we'll go see a movie, at least get some nachos.
I was gonna say, buy her some nachos, man. She'll be hallucinating.
That still didn't help me. Nachos, nothing helped. But it was that was kind of part of it too, was that sort of spontaneous ability to go see a movie, because that was the way you did. There was no Netflix, there was no anything else, Hulu, what have you. It was great. And those are, even though I love the way movies have gotten technology wise and the experience wise, the greatest memories I have of film are those days when I was a kid, and movies were so much more of a part of the fabric of our social lives. It was huge.
Well, I think things are going to swing back a little bit. So things have swung, especially with the pandemic. Everybody was doing stuff at home. You're getting delivery, groceries delivered, movies on demand. You need to come out in theater. They're just right there. So everything can be delivered to your home, literally everything. Even products like, you can buy a mattress, right? You don't have to go to a mattress world. Just get it. You don't like it, you send it back. So even products that typically you felt you had to go somewhere to go experience it, they have try before you buy, right, on Amazon. So even clothes, people say, well, you can do certain products like toilet paper and toothpaste, they can do, but shoes, you have to go to the store. People are like, no, give me 7 shoes. I'll try them on here and send them back.
Warby Parker with glasses. You get 7 pairs, pick one you like.
Exactly. So it's just not a problem at all. But yet everyone's looking for connection. Everyone's looking for that experience that I thought the movie provided. Even conversation. Have you seen this? What did you think about that scene? All that stuff. And
it's how you met people too. Like, you met, you go meet girls, you go on dates. It was like, there was a part of that too, right? It was part of like how you interact with people. There was a social aspect to it, like you were saying.
And so you have, even with sports on demand, I believe, all right, I'm making a Steph Nation official Steph Nation prediction here, that you're going to see more of these communal events come back. And it's not just because the pandemic and whatnot. I think that accelerated it. But I think people are like, I can get everything at my home and I'm bummed out. I'm lonely. Like I'll be okay with a little bit of inconvenience. So I think it's just been so convenient, but you lost out on kind of the whole reason that we're here, in a way, like, hey man, we want to enjoy being with other people. So I think there's going to be some resurgence of the movie experience, but I think you could have it. It could be immersive. It could be interactive. It could be something different. It can't just go back to the old way, but Now we'll see.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, all that matters is like just to start making good movies, right? Movies that make you want to go to the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, like TCM does these. They have like they had the 45th anniversary of Smokey and the Bandit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my god, I freaked out. And I'm sure at
Yeah.
some point Jaws will be in the theater as well again, which would be epic. So I think that I think you're right, though, Scott. I think the theater, it was such on the precipice of falling away during the pandemic and they were shutting down. I think there'll be a resurgence again of theater going people. I hope so, because it is it was part of my growing up, and I don't want to see it go away over Netflix.
And we know one thing for sure: the nacho cheese will be the same.
Never change, man. Popcorn and nacho cheese.
That cheese. We're gonna have to get. We're gonna do like a hidden. What are those shows like? Behind the scenes. How is this cheese made? It'll be a whole conspiracy. But everyone, well, hey, listen, we're just about out of time. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate it. Thanks everyone for your feedback on this new video cast edition. We even changed, we have a video cast special logo, if you've seen, so you can always see us on the audio or always hear us on the audio, but now you can see our beautiful shining faces. But everyone, have a fantastic holiday weekend.
Happy 4th of July, Scott.
Everyone, happy 4th of July, buddy.
Have a great weekend, buddy.
You too,
Stay safe in Chicago, man.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I'm telling you,
stay low.
live sound, bullet sounds. Anyways, listen, hey, everyone, we'll see you next week.
See ya.